Mom texted, "We can't make it to your daughter's birthday, money's tight." I said, "Of course, Mom." But on her birthday they went skiing with my sister's family. My girl whispered, "They don't love us, do they?" I calmed her down. The next day I did something that changed their lives for a long time. I believed them. When Mom texted saying they couldn't come to Lily's birthday because money was tight, I believed her. I didn't even hesitate. Just nodded to myself, typed "Of course, Mom," and convinced myself they must be going through something they didn't want to talk about. Lily had asked about them earlier in the week. She drew 2 extra invitation cards and put them aside just for them. I didn't throw them away. I tucked them behind the microwave like they might still come. They didn't. The party fell on a Saturday right in the middle of a freak heat wave. 91 degrees in October. I had to drag the cooler out from the garage and stuff it with ice and juice boxes. The kids arrived in tank tops and flip-flops. Everyone was sweating and laughing and running through a makeshift sprinkler I rigged up from an old hose. Lily wore a unicorn dress that she picked out herself and these ridiculous sparkly sneakers I told her not to ruin, but she wore them anyway, kicking through grass and frosting and sidewalk chalk like she owned the whole world. It should have been perfect. And in some ways it was. But I saw the way she kept glancing at the street, like she was waiting for something. For someone. She never asked me directly during the party. He just kept checking. When it was time for cake, I lit the candles and the kids yelled the birthday song. She blew them out in one try and made a wish. And I'll never forget it, she looked up right after, so hopeful. As if maybe that would be the moment they'd pull into the driveway. But they never did. That night, after she was asleep, I was sitting on the couch, finally exhaling. My phone buzzed. Just a notification from Facebook, nothing dramatic. Until I opened it. There it was. A photo Amanda had posted. They were at Pine Ridge, the ski resort. Her husband, their 2 boys, all smiling in thick coats and goggles, holding up mugs of hot chocolate in front of a snow-covered slope. The timestamp said 2:14 p.m. That was exactly when Lily had been opening her gifts. The ones they didn't send. I just stared. I think part of me actually waited for Amanda to text me and explain. But she didn't. Just a couple of emojis in the caption. Family Day snowflake skier red heart. Family Day. That word stuck. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about Lily and her glitter sneakers, and how she'd saved them a spot at the table. I kept replaying her little voice telling one of the kids, "My grandma's probably just late, she gets lost sometimes." The next morning, Lily was eating cereal with her knees tucked up in her chair, when she asked if Grandma and Grandpa forgot about her birthday. Then she asked something I'll never forget. "They don't love us, do they?" She said it like she already knew. And I just stood there. Because there it was. Out in the open. The thing I'd been patching over for years. It wasn't just about birthdays. It was every time they made excuses not to come visit. Every time I helped them with bills and they still forgot Lily's school plays. Every time Amanda's kids got cards and gifts and weekend sleepovers. And Lily got silence. And still I kept making excuses for them. Not anymore. That morning after Lily left for school, I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and started writing something I should have written years ago. Not an angry letter. Not a dramatic message. Just the beginning of something they never saw coming. And by the time I hit send, I wasn't shaking. I felt clear. This was just the beginning. The email I sent them wasn't angry. It wasn't a rant or a desperate attempt to make them see what they'd done. It was just honest. I told them Lily had noticed. That I was disappointed. That it hurt. And that I was done pretending it didn't. I didn't threaten to cut contact. I didn't even explain everything because by now they already knew. I blocked their numbers a few minutes later. Not because I wanted revenge but because I needed peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't get interrupted by gaslighting voicemails or pity texts asking if I was okay. For a while it was quiet. That was the strange part. No messages, no knocks at the door, not even a guilt-ridden email from Mom, which had always been her favorite move. Just radio silence. It felt like they didn't care that I'd finally drawn a line. But I noticed the silence didn't feel as heavy as I thought it would. It felt clean. No more second-guessing myself. No more explaining to Lily why some people love you in ways that don't look like love at all. A week later I stopped the automatic payments to their bills. For years I'd been covering random things. Water, gas, the occasional credit card late fee. Mom always acted like it was temporary, that they'd pay me back. They never did. I never asked. I just thought that's what daughters did. Now I wasn't doing it anymore. The following weekend, Lily had a holiday recital at school. She wore a silver dress and a headband with tiny bells that jingled when she moved. She stood on stage in the second row, singing louder than anyone else, waving to me halfway through like she was performing just for me. And on the way home, walking hand in hand down our street, she asked if Grandma would come to the recital next year. I didn't lie. I told her probably not. He thought about that. Then said quietly, maybe that's better so I won't be sad again. That nearly dropped me. That night Amanda texted me out of nowhere. Just a simple message. Can we talk? I stared at it for a while. I didn't know what kind of conversation she was expecting. She hadn't said a word since the party, hadn't acknowledged the photo, the trip, the silence. I thought maybe she was siding with them. I should have known better. We talked on the phone the next day. At first it was awkward. Then she said she didn't even know Mom and Dad had told me they couldn't afford to come. She found out about the ski trip 2 days before. He thought I knew. She said Mom called her, said they wanted to get the boys some snow before it melts. Said they had a little money saved. Amanda assumed I was invited too. I told her what really happened. The text from Mom. The way Lily had looked at the door all day. The thing she asked me the next morning. The part about whether they loved us or not. Amanda got quiet. Real quiet. Then she said something I didn't expect. She told me she's tired. Tired of being the one they leaned on because she lives close. Tired of pretending she didn't notice how differently they treated our kids. Tired of being praised when she kept quiet and punished when she didn't. Then she told me something that changed everything. She said this wasn't the first time they lied about money. That a few months ago Mom called her asking for help with a late utility bill. But Amanda had just seen them buy a new flat screen for the guest room. I asked her why she never told me. She said she was afraid I'd say exactly what I did, that it was time to stop. Because deep down she wasn't ready to cut them off. Not yet. But she admitted something I never thought I'd hear from her. She said, I think they only know how to love us when we're doing something for them. That line sat with me long after we hung up. Guess it was true. All my life I thought if I gave more, helped more, showed up more, they'd eventually love me the way they loved her. But the truth was uglier. It was never about love. It was about control. And usefulness. Amanda wasn't where I was yet, but something had shifted. I could feel it in her voice. For the first time she wasn't defending them. And I knew it wouldn't be long before she made her own decision. Because once you see it clearly you can't unsee it. And eventually even the ones who try to hold on, let go. 2 weeks went by without a word from Amanda. No texts. No updates. I figured she needed space. Processing them takes time. You don't just unlearn a lifetime of bending for someone. Especially when you've convinced yourself it's love. I'd done it too. Over and over. Meanwhile I was beginning to understand what peace actually felt like. It wasn't silence. It was freedom from the waiting. Freedom from the background noise of guilt, expectation, disappointment. The more distance I had from Mom and Dad, the more I realized how much space they had taken up in my head. Quiet days used to feel like a setup for something to go wrong. Now they felt like a clean slate. I went through our old text threads one night. Not to torture myself, just to see it clearly. There it was in plain sight. Years of emotional IOUs, guilt-coded favors, manipulations wrapped in pleasantries. Things like, wish we could come but gas is expensive. Maybe next month when things aren't so tight. Your sister always finds a way to help. And my responses? Always accommodating. Always polite. Always bending. Made me feel sick. Not because I missed them but because I spent so long trying to earn something they were never willing to give. Then Amanda called. No small talk, just, they asked me for money again. This time it was $500. Supposedly for Dad's car which had suddenly stopped working. But Amanda said when she brought up how much she'd already sent them this year, Mom immediately switched gears and started talking about their old sofa. Said it was giving Dad back pain and maybe it was time to upgrade. No shame. Not even trying to disguise the ask anymore. Amanda said she told them no. Flat out. She told Mom I can't do that right now. She said Mom got quiet. Not mad. Not offended. Just quiet. The kind of silence she uses when she's about to drop a dig. And right on cue she said I guess Gloria would have helped, but she's got her own issues these days. That was the line that did it. Amanda said something snapped. He didn't yell. She didn't even raise her voice. He just told Mom. No, Gloria finally got tired of being used. And honestly, so am I. Then Mom hung up. Amanda told me she sat there afterward, phone still in her hand, staring at nothing. She wasn't even angry. Just hollow. And then she called me. He asked, do you think they ever liked us? Not loved us, liked us. The real us? I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her the truth. I said I don't think they ever knew how to love anyone they couldn't control. I told her I used to think if I was helpful enough, if I was reliable, generous, selfless, that maybe one day I'd get the version of them they gave to her. But now I saw it clearly. They didn't treat Amanda better because they loved her more. They treated her better because she was easier to manipulate. Amanda got quiet again. Then she said she was going to stop. She didn't know exactly how or when, but she was done being the go-to. The fixer. The daughter who always bailed them out just so she wouldn't have to carry their disappointment. She said she wasn't ready to block them, not yet. But she wasn't picking up the phone next time either. She wasn't visiting. She wasn't sending birthday cards. She said she needed time to mourn the parents she thought she had. I told her that's exactly what it is. A mourning. And she was allowed to feel all of it. That weekend Lily and I went to the pumpkin patch. We stayed there for hours. She picked the weirdest looking pumpkin in the entire field and named it Greg. She wore these striped tights and a hoodie 3 sizes too big and looked like a little wizard running through the hay. No calls. No guilt. No last-minute favors. Just us. And on the way home, as we were driving past all the farms and Halloween decorations, she said something I'll never forget. "Are you happier now that they don't come around?" I didn't answer right away. I was too caught off guard. But then I told her the truth. I said yes. I am. And for once, it wasn't just something I said to make her feel safe. It was true. What I didn't tell her is that this wasn't just about birthdays or ski trips. This was about finally choosing ourselves. Me. Her. And Mom and Dad didn't just forget to show up. They taught us, slowly and over years, that we were only valuable when we were giving. But now the giving was done. And Amanda was already halfway out. She just needed a little more time. And I had all the time in the world to wait. The next call didn't come from Amanda. It came from Wells Fargo. I was driving home from Lily's piano lesson when I saw a missed call and a voicemail. I didn't think much of it. Maybe another fraud alert or a follow-up from that annoying credit card rewards thing I never signed up for. But the message was different. The woman on the line politely asked me to call back to confirm some account activity involving a joint loan application. What? I pulled over into the pharmacy parking lot and called them back immediately, my stomach already turning. The man who answered asked if I was aware of a loan application submitted 2 days ago, for a personal line of credit, totaling $20,000. My name, my information, my social security number. I said absolutely not. He paused, then asked if I had a co-signer named Cynthia Morris. That's my mother. I didn't even feel angry at first, just stunned. How did she even get my social? Then I remembered. Years ago I helped them file a mortgage refinance. I filled out the paperwork, uploaded documents. I never thought twice. They were my parents. Apparently they never forgot. I drove straight home and started making calls. The loan hadn't been approved, thank God, but the fact that they tried, that they didn't even tell me, it was like being slapped from behind. I called Amanda. She answered on the first ring. When I told her, she didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she said, "They did it to me once too. In 2020. I just didn't want to tell you. They had used her information to open a store credit card. Mom claimed it was a mistake, said she thought Amanda had set it up for them. Amanda let it go, paid the balance, never brought it up again. Now here it was again. A pattern, a history. We weren't daughters to them. We were resources, backups, walking credit scores." Amanda didn't cry. I didn't either. We were beyond that. Instead, Amanda said something I hadn't expected. "I'm done." I asked what she meant. She said she was going to block them. All of them. No warning. No explanation. Just, done. Then she said, "You were right. They don't even care. They just need someone. And when it's not us, it'll be someone else. Cousin. A neighbor. A friend from church. Whoever picks up first." And she was right. Because 2 days later I got a call from my cousin Lauren. We're not super close, we talk maybe twice a year, but she sounded confused and uncomfortable. She said Mom had reached out to her saying she was concerned about me and that I was going through a rough patch. Said they'd been cut off financially and emotionally and just needed a little help getting back on their feet. Mom had the nerve to tell her that Amanda and I were struggling mentally. That we were overwhelmed and lashing out. They weren't just looking for money anymore. They were rewriting the narrative. Trying to turn us into the villains before we even had a chance to explain ourselves. I told Lauren the truth. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her about the fake loan. The lies. The years of quiet emotional manipulation. I didn't ask her to pick sides, I just asked her not to be fooled. She didn't say much, but before we hung up she said, "I'm sorry. I had no idea. Your mom made it sound like you were unstable." And that was when I realized something that punched a hole right through me. They weren't heartbroken that we cut them off. They were prepared for it. And they had a plan. They were already finding new people to leech from. already playing the victims in a story they wrote themselves. Amanda and I weren't even people to them anymore. We were problems to explain away. But I didn't care. Let them tell their stories. Let them hunt for new benefactors. Because the money was gone. The access was cut. The lies were unraveling. And this time we weren't coming back. We didn't just close the door. We locked it. And not even their sob stories would get them through it again. Amanda didn't block them right away. She said she wanted to wait until the morning, sit with it overnight to make sure she wasn't just reacting emotionally. But we both knew the truth. It wasn't a reaction. It was a long, slow ending that had been dragging itself toward the cliff for years. And it had finally gone over. The next morning she sent me a screenshot. Blocked, Mom. Blocked, Dad. No message. Just that image. Simple. Final. It felt like a door slamming in a house we used to live in. When I called her, I half expected her to sound shaky or uncertain. Instead she sounded lighter. Not happy, not yet, but clear. Like a room that had just been aired out. She said, I thought I'd feel like a terrible daughter. But I don't. I feel like someone finally stopped lying to me. Then she told me something she hadn't told anyone before. Mom had taken money from her and never paid it back. Not once. It started when Amanda had just gotten married. Small things at first. 100 here, 200 there. Then came the we're behind on rent calls, even though they owned their house. The just until the check clears lies. One time, Amanda gave her $1,500 to help cover what she thought was an overdue property tax. Weeks later she found out they'd used it for a cruise they booked with another couple from church. She said nothing. Said it was a misunderstanding. Swallowed it down. But it stayed with her. And now she couldn't believe how long she let it continue. That night she told her husband everything. Every uncomfortable truth. Every debt. Every emotional manipulation. And instead of telling her to forgive and move on, he said the most validating thing she'd ever heard from someone outside our family. You owe them nothing. Especially not your peace. That line stuck with her. And with me too. What Amanda didn't know yet, what I hadn't told her, was that Mom had already moved on. I'd been keeping quiet about it, but I'd seen the posts. A cousin from Dad's side had started sharing photos with them again. Dinners. Church events. Little things. And I knew exactly what Mom had done. He pivoted. Rebranded the narrative. Gloria and Amanda were difficult. We were going through something. We needed space. They were just giving us time to heal. It was so smooth, so rehearsed, I almost laughed when I first realized it. They weren't devastated. They were adaptable. Like seasoned con artists who'd simply lost 2 investors and were now out schmoozing the next batch. And sure enough, that week my cousin Lauren texted me again. She said Mom had asked if she'd help drive them to an appointment next week. Lauren said yes, but added that Mom kept bringing up how cut off they were and how hard it's been on them financially and emotionally. I asked Lauren one thing. Did she tell you why we stopped talking to them? She paused. Then wrote, "Oh, he just said it was sudden. That you and Amanda became cold." That's when I told Lauren about the loan. The credit card they opened under Amanda's name. The birthday lies. The ski trip. She didn't respond for a long time. But later that night she messaged again. She made it sound like you were unstable. But now it makes sense. I'm so sorry. That was the moment I knew we weren't just healing. We were starting to uncover them. The truth wasn't just sitting in the dark anymore. It was moving. Spreading. Finding light. A week later Amanda invited us over. Just her husband, her boys, and us. Lily ran straight into the living room like she lived there. The kids dumped out board games and puzzle pieces and snacks all over the floor. We stayed for hours. No tension. No pretending. Just us. After dinner, Amanda looked over at me and said, "This feels more like family than anything we grew up with." I didn't argue. I just nodded. Because she was right. We had been born into a family of users. But we had built one out of honesty. Out of saying no. Out of protecting our children from the same emotional hunger we were raised on. And just before we left, Amanda handed me something. A photo frame. Inside was a picture of all our kids sitting in her backyard. Smiling, messy, happy. She said, "Let's hang this where the wedding photo of Mom and Dad used to be." I laughed. And I did exactly that. Because this is the family now. And for the first time in my life I wasn't trying to fix the old one. I was finally okay letting it go. The holidays came faster than I expected that year, and for the first time in my life I didn't dread them. There was no pressure to pretend, no fake smiles to stretch over broken feelings, no standing in a kitchen with a knot in my stomach while Mom made comments about how tired I looked, how quiet Lily was, or how Amanda used to be so helpful before she got busy. None of that. Amanda and I had planned everything weeks in advance. Thanksgiving would be at her house. No parents. No extended family trying to play peacekeeper. Just us, the kids, her husband, and a table full of food made with our own hands. I brought Lily's favorite sweet potatoes. Amanda made stuffing from scratch. The boys ruined the first batch of biscuits by adding salt instead of sugar, and we all laughed so hard we didn't even care. We ate until we were stuffed, then curled up in the living room with blankets and old holiday cartoons. It felt like a new tradition had been born, one that didn't come with guilt or cold shoulders. After we got home that night, I was tucking Lily into bed when she said, "This was the best Thanksgiving ever. You didn't cry this year." I froze. Because she was right. She remembered. Every year before, I'd ended the night wiping my eyes in the kitchen, trying to pretend it was just stress or wine or hormones. She'd seen it, even when I thought I was hiding it. No. She noticed the absence of pain. That's when I realized we'd done the right thing. Not just for ourselves but for them. For our kids. We had broken the cycle. A few days later, a letter arrived. Not a card. Not even handwritten. It was a printed 4-page letter on thick ivory paper with a return address and my full name typed on the envelope like it was a business memo. From Mom. I didn't open it right away. I left it on the counter for 2 days. When I finally sat down to read it, I made it halfway through the first paragraph before I knew exactly what it was. A performance. A carefully worded, passive-aggressive, blame-deflecting performance. She never once apologized. Not for the ski trip. Not for the lies. Not for trying to take out a loan in my name. Instead, she wrote about how Amanda and I had changed, how the world had made us hard and ungrateful, how we'd forgotten who raised us, and how sad it was that we were teaching our children to abandon family. She used words like estrangement, betrayal, emotional distance like she was some victim of a sudden attack. The last line read, "You girls were our greatest pride. It's a shame you've chosen to erase that." I burned the letter in a fire pit at Amanda's the following weekend. We didn't even talk about it. We just watched the pages curl and blacken. Her boys roasted marshmallows nearby like it was just another cozy night. That same week, Amanda forwarded me a screenshot from one of our cousins. Mom and Dad had shown up at a church friend's house for a holiday dinner. Big smiles. Holding plates of food. Caption read, "Blessed to be surrounded by true family this Christmas." They hadn't even tried to reach out again. The letter wasn't an olive branch. It was a record. A written version of events they could point to and say, "See? We tried." Amanda said it best. They weren't trying to come back. They were trying to cover their tracks. And the truth is, we were never the goal. We were just the supply. The fix. When we cut that off, they moved on. Fast. They had new people now. A new audience. Probably already softening up some cousin or friend or neighbor. Probably telling them stories about how their daughters lost their way, how they sacrificed everything, how they're just trying to survive a heartbreaking season of life. But we're not in that story anymore. We left the pages. And we're writing something else now. On Christmas morning, Amanda and her family came over. The kids tore through presents like wild animals. We made pancakes and watched movies all day. At one point, Lily grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the floor to play a board game, and I realized I hadn't thought about Mom or Dad once that morning. Not once. There were no missing pieces. No aching. No waiting. Just this warm, ordinary joy. And when Amanda leaned over and said, "This is our family now," I knew she was right. Mom and Dad didn't lose their daughters. They let go of them the second we stopped being useful. They won't call again. They won't apologize. They won't wake up one day realizing what they lost. Because the truth is, they didn't lose anything in their eyes. They just moved on to the next source. The next person to guilt. The next wallet to open. But we gained everything. We stopped bleeding for people who never once offered a bandage. We ended the story on our terms. And the best part? We never looked back.